Now, how did Jey Uso go from one of the most popular wrestlers in WWE to one of the most controversial names that competes in the main event scene? Well, the reasons are complex, and it's not as simple as Jey being overpushed or overexposed. It's an amalgamation of factors that has turned Jey from hero to villain in the eyes of the internet wrestling community. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at where did it all go wrong, the Jey Uso problem. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Main event Jey Uso. Now in 2020, WWE needed an established name to feud with Roman Reigns. Reigns had just started his epic heel run, and the name WWE decided to go with was Jey Uso. This was a huge risk as Jey wasn't known for being a single star, and WWE's reasoning was mainly due to the family ties between both men. Jey would be the babyface in the feud, and to say that he over-delivered in the story would be an understatement. Jey had a number of PLE encounters with his cousin, and each of these were outstanding. Jey didn't just bring it in the ring, his storytelling was magnificent, and in a space of 2 months, Jey went from a tag team wrestler to one of the most grounded, likable, and driven characters in the entire company. Jey's work was so strong during this point in time that there were calls from fans to see him win a world title, and these calls were completely justified. But weirdly, WWE wouldn't continue Jey on the singles babyface path, as he would quickly rejoin Reigns and he would mainly begin to wrestle in tag team matches alongside his brother Jimmy once more. This was a confusing call, but with the work of the bloodline that followed, this was another opportunity for Jey to flesh out his character. The work of Jey within the bloodline itself received critical acclaim, as Jey was an amazing character who was humorous, yet he had the depth and substance, and it was easy to see why he was a primary character on television during this beloved era. Singles career resurgence. It was in 2023 when WWE decided to once again revisit Jey as a single star. He would pick up a huge win in a tag team match at Money in the Bank 2023, and he was the first man to pin Roman Reigns in a number of years. This opened the door for Jey to challenge Reigns for the WWE World title in the main event of SummerSlam. Sadly, this main event match failed to live up to expectations. The tribal rules stipulation was a confusing mess, and it was almost as if Reigns and Jey had lost all their chemistry from 3 years prior. The finish also saw Jimmy turn on his brother, which was one of the more backwards calls of the Triple H era. Nobody was pushing for the Usos to break up, and Jimmy turning on Jey and siding with Reigns made zero sense whatsoever. WWE would continue with Jey as a solo act, but this would take a momentary pause so Jey could team up with Cody Rhodes. The short-lived team was incredibly successful as he had fantastic matches and their real-life friendship and bond came to the forefront. WWE would then revisit the feud between Jey and Jimmy, but in a weird move, they kept them separate for so long that by the time the feud was revisited, nobody cared. WWE put minimal effort into the build of their WrestleMania 40 match, and the match itself was labeled as one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time. It was flat, boring, and the two wrestled like they didn't want to even be there. The two would spam super kicks for 10 minutes, and the crowd didn't know what to make of the match, as it would have been out of place on a Raw or SmackDown, never mind the biggest show of the calendar year. Both men were critical of the match in the months that followed, and it was even stated that time was cut from the match, which could have factored into why it was so poorly put together. Frankly, the match should have never happened. The fans didn't want to see it, and the quality of the match did significant damage to both men, with fans questioning if both talents have what it took to be successful singles acts in the company. Jey would eventually win singles gold as he became the Intercontinental Champion. This was great to see, and the crowd were firmly behind him. The YEET catchphrase was so universally over that the camera would often shake due to how much the crowd loved to take part in the chant, and Jey became one of the most captivating and interactive pro wrestlers WWE had under their roof. This led then to the YEET era. But this is also where the problems truly began at the start of 2025 for Jey Uso. He would win the 2025 Royal Rumble match. Jey wasn't a popular suggestion for the winner of this match, especially because fans had seen him challenge for the world title just 1 week prior, and his matchup with Gunther was insanely disappointing. It was said that the initial plans for the Rumble were to see CM Punk win, and this is exactly what fans wanted, but WWE ultimately decided to go with main event Jey. The backlash to the win was substantial, with the YouTube dislikes speaking volumes, and the crowd were questioning what on earth WWE were thinking. Jey was insanely well liked by the audience, but they didn't truly want to see him wrestle for the world title at WrestleMania, especially against a man he had zero chemistry with. The build to Jey vs Gunther at WrestleMania was uninspiring at best, as WWE would basically have Gunther act as the voice of the internet by claiming that Jey can't hang with the main eventers, and it was even rumored that Gunther was unhappy with working with Jey again. This was the point in time where Jey was picked apart for his in-ring work, with fans questioning if he had what it took to be a main event attraction and deliver classic matches on a monthly basis. Fans were also quick to call out Jey for botching basic spots, and this became so prevalent that WWE worked this into a storyline with Gunther, which goes to show just how aware WWE became of the online criticism and resentment towards him. WrestleMania 41 arrived, and the match itself was nothing special. As expected, Jey won, but he won with a sleeper hold of all things, which was rather random as this wasn't even Jey's finisher, and Gunther being choked out wasn't the best look for the ring general. There was immediate concern that Jey wasn't going to be able to have good matches as champion, and they even decided to give him a brief reign of 51 days before he unceremoniously dropped the title back to Gunther on Raw. In the months since Jey dropping the title, he's been greatly overexposed by WWE, as he hasn't left the main event scene in any capacity. WWE's attempted to flesh out his character by showing inner turmoil, but this has confused those that support Jey, and it hasn't really impacted his reactions on television. When Seth Rollins went down with an injury, WWE would then have a battle royal to determine who would face CM Punk at Saturday night's main event, and the winner of this battle royal would be Jey Uso. Fans were urging WWE to go with LA Knight, but they once again went with Jey, and the backlash to this was even worse than the Rumble win, and the YouTube upload of the match was one of the most disliked videos WWE have ever uploaded. The backlash was the talk of the wrestling world, and it was clear that the internet fans were sick of Jey and wanted to change the scenery in the main event picture. Weirdly, these reactions once again weren't felt in the arenas, as the crowd still loved him. However, it was argued by some of Jey's biggest critics online that the YEET chant was over, and Jey himself wasn't over. Whether this is true is up for debate, but it's extremely rare to see the internet reaction to a wrestler fail to translate to the weekly crowds. The match versus CM Punk was a TV match at best, and one notable spot in the match saw Jey botch a neckbreaker. This upset Punk so much that he kicked Jey right in the face. Jey received a ton of criticism for the quality of the match, and specific criticism was directed at the botch itself. Coming out of Saturday night's main event, WWE fans were urging WWE to give Jey's main event push a rest and reunite the Usos on a full-time basis. So what exactly is next for Jey Uso? Based on Raw, it appears that the main event push of Jey is continuing for the time being. Jey is set to be part of Team Punk at Survivor Series War Games, and Jey's inner turmoil is likely going to be the main story for the match. Will Jey turn heel and side with the Vision? Well, we can certainly expect more melodrama between Jey, Jimmy, and Reigns during the TV episodes leading up to Survivor Series. While some fans believe that WWE need to move on from the Bloodline story arcs, it's appreciated that they are attempting to reignite some of the fire within Jey's character. It's unlikely to lead to a heel turn, as it ultimately makes no sense. Does Jey need a character reset? Well, sort of. The character work is there, but a heel turn isn't needed. Jey is so over with the audience, and he sells so much merchandise that it would make zero sense to turn him heel. What Jey needs is a break. Not a break from television or WWE, a break from the main event scene. Jey has been in countless world title matches, and fans are sick of the sight of him in those matches. A reunion with Jimmy is a smart move, especially with the Raw tag division truly struggling with top tag teams. The Usos reuniting in the division would instantly elevate the division, and then feuding with AJ Styles and Dragon Lee sounds like a fantastic program for television. And they could always revisit the Jey main event push down the line, but him taking a step back from the main event picture won't diminish his popularity. If anything, it'll make him even more popular. Those fans that are tired of his antics on television will get to see him in the tag division for an extended period, and then when the time comes that Jey is competing for the world title again, it may feel fresh and unique. Now let's face it, it's common for fans to get tired of the same wrestlers in the main event scene over and over again. With Jey, it's been a combination of bad booking combined with poor matches that has doomed his main event run. It goes without saying that Jey is still an incredible talent, and WWE is lucky to have such a popular name on their roster. However, if they continue with his current presentation, it wouldn't come as too much of a surprise to see those fans who cheer for him begin to resent him, and this should be something that WWE should look to avoid at all costs. What do you guys think? Is this the right answer for Jey? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.